Welcome back to the DIY Creative Podcast. I am Senator Jaiz. Friends call me Aben. We have episode 31 and we have a special one today. We are going to the UK. We're going to England. We're going to talk to the band Verity White members, Alex and Verity. How you guys doing over there?
Hey, hi.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Oh, we have a tropical storm off the coast, our second one of the season, and the season doesn't start till June 1st.
Oh my God.
What with the murder hornets going on over there as well? It's like, what is happening to America?
Completely off topic, but have you seen the video of the praying mantis just owning that murder hornet?
No, but I know
I haven't now.
It just grabs it and it can't come around to sting it, and it just eats his head while it's trying to escape.
Yeah. I suppose that's the way to do it.
I used to have a pet praying mantis, actually. It was amazing.
They're like aliens.
They are cool. They are
incredible.
so delicious.
All right, so back to the artistic side of this. So, I haven't had two people on here before, so you get to tell your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I have a fact check built in there. So if anything,
real true, actually. Yeah. And little arguments about what didn't happen, and then no one actually knows in the end anyway. It all gets confused. Still.
So why don't you guys give us the story of you?
Well, I was born. No.
It always starts there for some reason. I can't figure that out.
Alex has been a musician basically all of his entire life.
Well, yeah, I actually started playing music at 10 years old. So
ridiculously talented.
More or less. But I really loved playing on the piano before that, even though I was just making noise. So yeah, for me, it's been ages. I think you've been singing forever, haven't you? Just not like...
Yeah,
not properly.
I think not properly. No, I think I started doing professional singing work probably around about sort of 10, 15 years ago. But it was all in things like cover bands, or I was doing stand-up a lot of the time. So I was doing a lot of improvised comedy, like Who's Learning It Anyway, but kind of musical versions of that, which was really cool. Like I said, covers bands and things like that. We did a Blues Brothers tribute band and stuff, and some musicals. And through all of that, I then got asked to be a backing singer in the prog rock band Pendragon. So I did some stuff with them, toured around a bit, and while we were at the tours, they were asking me, where's your stuff? Can we check out your stuff? And I was like, guys, I just don't have anything. So I came back from my first tour, and I came home to Alex, and I was like, should we write some music? And that was about 3.5 years ago. And then we just sort of started with a very experimental EP, which isn't up anywhere, I don't think, anymore, apart from maybe Bandcamp. But
yeah, it's that embarrassing first release where you go, no, not like that. Not like that.
I mean, there are some really good moments on it, but I think that we hadn't quite found who we were musically. And then from that led into the Breaking Out album, and then it just sort of snowballed from there. So we kind of started to find our sound more together as we worked on it together. And I think that it's been a really fun journey for us musically, me working with Alex because he's got so much knowledge of music theory, he's been doing it for such a long time, and I'm just a singer. So
just a singer. Alex, let's talk, man.
But I've learned a lot, and that for me has been really fantastic. And seeing the way Al works, and then being able to sort of work my own stuff in through that as well has been really interesting.
That's cool.
And Verity is an online machine for chatting and talking to people, getting all that kind of stuff done.
Yeah, she's kind of a force of nature.
It's incredible. I have no idea where she finds the time to do it.
I am the storm sitting offside the coast at the moment.
I'm gonna have to inform them. We need to change that name. Yeah. Now, as a band, you guys handle a lot in house. If I'm not mistaken, your bassist is your videographer.
No.
Well, he's done. He has done. Recently.
Yeah.
Two videos for us. So,
he's
yes,
really talented. We're so lucky.
We've done a couple of different videos with different people, but yeah, he's done 2 of them.
Yeah,
and he's amazing at it.
And our drummer's a trained jazz drummer. He went and studied classical drumming at university as well. So, but then we're all just a group of mates from Cheltenham in the UK, and we know each other for years and years and years and years. So
I've known the bass player since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
So,
and when we
excellent.
started writing together, we were like, shit, at some point we're actually going to have a band, because actually on the first few releases, Alex played every single instrument. So we were like, we can't do that on stage.
Physically go out and play the drums and the bass and the guitar at once.
So that's when we're like, let's get some of our mates in. And yeah, we've been very lucky. And yeah, Joe, our bassist that's done the videos and stuff for us, he's been great. So he did our Fond Light video and he's done some work on the Alibi video, which is going to be hopefully coming out.
And it's so much better collaborating as well. It really is. Getting the actual specialists in to do the job. Yeah. It's actually awful doing everything by yourself if you can avoid it. Like, obviously, if it's your only option, cool, but good God, work with other people, because it makes so much difference.
Take a load off.
You know, it just brings their creativity, their perspective, and that uniqueness builds something totally unique from that. It's like, got to work with other people.
You know, there is a reason there's specialties in the world, why people go into what they go into.
Totally.
So one of the things I want to kind of hit on is the differences. I mean, here in the United States, let's just be honest, we kind of tend to be navel gazers and think we are the center of the universe. And yet there's this incredibly wide world out there. One of my recent guests was Ishan Mukherjee from India. And that was just amazing hearing about the Indian music scene in India. And this one, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I lived in England for 3 years. So I have a little bit of knowledge. Yeah, and from 2004 to 2007, I lived in Littlehampton, right on the English Channel.
Littlehampton, yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
What were you doing? Did you just move here for work?
Well, you know, my wife used to be an executive with the Body Shop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and she was in the U.S. office, U.S. Mexico Canada office, and then we got the chance to go over for 3 years and work in the U.K. office. And
that's
nice.
Really lush. Yeah, how much fun! That must have been awesome.
That was that's when I first got into podcasting, because I didn't have a whole lot to do. And that was about the time that Mevio or Pod Show got started, and they got me under contract for a few years, and I did what was called the Indie Music Blast. Pretty much what I'm doing now, except I actually played music. And well, you know, things go on. But that being said, now we're going to deep dive into what it's like to be a musician in the UK. And not only that, rock musicians in the UK, which... people here in the United States, I know things have changed a lot since I'm there, but you guys really stand out because the UK, the rock scene is more underground than it is over here.
Definitely,
100%.
I think the UK suffers quite a lot from having pretty much manufactured pop as a very dominant overall market. And then you've got these little other things like jazz and rock and blues. And I mean, I guess like in anything, niches are actually really cool. Yeah. Because when you're in a niche, you get a lot of people that really love what you do and really want to be involved in what you do. And challenges are in everything, right? Nothing's easy. But it must be really, really hard to do pop.
I think we're really lucky
because your competition is insane, and they're after something very particular.
Yeah, I think most of the people in the rock scene in the UK, certainly the people that we've worked with and that we know, everyone's really supportive of each other because we know we are underdogs effectively. We're all kind of like, if someone gets some success with something, like Those Damn Crows getting their album into the charts, the official charts and stuff like that, we're all kind of celebrating it together because it feels like a win for the scene, and that's really cool. So, this manufactured pop is everywhere. It's what's sold to everybody. It's what's on all of the radio stations. But then you've got brilliant specific radio stations that do play nothing but rock, and you've got specific festivals that do nothing but rock. And so those scenes are really quite an interesting community. So although it is more underground, I would say I think that makes it nicer to be a part of it.
There's definitely a really big friendliness that goes on with the UK rock scene, without a doubt, especially at the moment, and that indie level.
There's not a lot of egos, luckily. It's a lot of nice people.
There isn't a lot of ego. It's a whole bunch of really chilled out people. I've been doing band stuff for a long time, And I've noticed that change. I mean, obviously it could be my age as well, because as you get older, you tend to mix with people your age, even if you're playing out in pubs and clubs, you still kind of get put on with people. So it could just be simply that I'm meeting people who are more chilled. But honestly, I remember being 18 and everyone was so on it, ego-wise.
And now, of course, Alex is 312.
Now I'm 312.
So, he has seen a lot.
But no, that was something that's really lovely, and I think even I've noticed has massively changed.
Yeah. So it is tough. Like, obviously, all of us would love to be able to break through to a bigger market, so that does make it difficult. But I appreciate where we are, and I appreciate the people we're surrounded by, and everything's got its charm.
Yeah, and I don't think it's got anything to do with really any more the traditional route of record labels and getting signed and getting airplay. And I don't think that's as relevant when you're doing what we're doing. I think it's much more important that you just think of
your fans.
And try to give them the most fun you possibly can, and that everything you're doing is working towards how can I give these people an amazing experience, and try to get directly to them. I thoroughly appreciate the hard work that any record label does, but I don't think as an artist you should rely on that to be your...
I'm so sorry. My phone randomly started calling. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't think you should sort of, think that if you can get signed, you could just chill out and not worry about it, and it's all very easy. I don't think that's the right kind of attitude. I think you should always be trying to be as direct,
keep pushing yourselves
to the fans as possible. Yeah. And it's all about those people for me. Everything I do is thinking of them.
I try to drill that into other artists day in and day out. If you're trying to make something for the masses, you're going to fail. You need to make it for your tribe, and you have to go find your tribe, because 100 real fans are eminently more important.
Absolutely.
100%.
I'm really on the same page. Yeah, totally.
It makes a difference because those people are probably going to be friends with other people that are going to like your music as well. Like, generally, in your circle of friends, you tend to like similar kind of things. So they're probably going to be, and they might tell a mate, and then they might tell a mate. And actually, it's a very organic way of growing things, rather than, being egotistical and sitting above it and going, well, I'm going to put this record on, everyone's going to love it, and it doesn't matter, it's all about me. And here, come to my live stream, and it's going to cost you £20 to come and watch me play acoustic guitar for 10 minutes. But it's like, it's not about that. It's about giving your fans fun. Like, we do all of our merch ourselves. We pack it ourselves. We send it to them ourselves. We send notes with it so people get special little things from us. It's different every single time they order something. Sometimes they get little free presents and stuff in there. And I just think that
anything we can do, really,
it just makes it really nice for people.
Improve everyone's experience.
I made an analogy in my last episode of pop stars versus, well, not indie, because Joe Bonamassa is not an indie star, but I used his name. And it was Ariana Grande versus Joe Bonamassa. Now, as an independent, it must be so hard to try to be a pop star, because that is industry driven. Whereas being a rock star, you can completely control your audience and building it organically. And what I was saying is being a pop star is kind of like being a sports star. Your football, our football, different, but same thing. You've got this much time to make what you're going to do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande is either going to have to make a shift right now. Well, nobody can play anywhere, but she was selling out stadiums. She was selling out stadiums in the UK. I mean, unfortunately, there was a bad incident there, but
it wasn't great.
But she's only going to be able to do that for this long. And then she either has to pivot. She goes into like Gwen Stefani and things, and goes into TV, or does like Madonna and just completely reshapes herself every couple of years. But Joe Bonamassa can sell out mid-sized places, the Hollywood Bowl theaters. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, he's still going to be selling out those same places.
Look at those rock stars and stuff. You look at rock stars that are moving forward in their own direction. So take Foo Fighters. They're amazing. Do you know what I mean? They still sell out stadiums. They're still doing what they do.
And they're so good.
They are brilliant, because they've been playing together forever. Or Fleetwood Mac or someone as well. All of these people are not pop stars, really. They may have had some hits, but they're not kind of pop stars. They're not that manufactured, Barbie model perfect. They are rough around the edges, and that makes them more likable for me.
Right. Now, I have an anecdote here for you, and you guys will get this. People in the States won't get this, but we talked about the pop machine, and while I was in England, I was there when Top of the Pops went off the air. And that had been on forever. But I remember I was watching Jonathan Ross one night, and he had Coldplay on, right? And Coldplay had to perform on Jonathan Ross. And Chris Martin was making fun of the fact that they were held out of the #1 spot for the first time ever releasing a single by Crazy Frog.
Oh my God. that was one of the worst musical releases of all time.
For those that don't know what it is a song that was made with a scooter, revving a scooter and then put through effects to sound sort of like a frog.
Wasn't it the Beverly Hills Cop theme tune?
They put that over the top as the music, and then as they did the little revving as the. I'm like, wow.
It's just a joke thing, wasn't it? And to be beaten to the #1 spot by a joke.
Like Mr. Blobby, who was this weird character on this old sort of 90s TV program. Mr. Blobby had Christmas #1 once with a song that basically went Blobby, 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 Blobby.
Yeah. So Christmas #1's alwa's a bit peculiar.
It's always a bit.
I mean, Rage Against the Machine got Christmas #1.
No, I'm happy with that one. I'm happy with that one.
Isn't it funny that Rage Against the Machine, no matter how hard they want to act these days, they're getting back together and all, they are the Machine now? I mean, Tom Morello doesn't even get the comedy and the crap comes out of his mouth these days. People are realizing he's a Harvard-educated musician. He really had it rough. I mean,
poor Zach.
Poor Zach and his millions.
Yeah, and nothing against him. Hey, I want all of us to reach that level. Good on them. But I mean, very few people go that hard and then don't realize at the end there's going to be a turnaround.
Yes, it's real fun. It is funny, actually.
What do I do now?
It's easy to be a communist when you live in a mansion.
Yes. Yeah, that is a great soundbite.
Yeah. But what you gonna do, right?
That's like in lockdown with all of these people going, oh my God, I hope all of my fans are okay. Well, they're swanning around their swimming pool in their 16-acre garden with their 15 bedrooms, their maid, their nail technician, their this, that, and the other. And just like, do you know what? You've got no idea.
That's funny you say that because COVID-19 really exposed what celebrities think about themselves. And I'm not talking musicians. I'm talking celebrities. And there's a difference. They really thought that the world revolved around them and that people just hang on their every word. And people are like, the Imagine thing with Gal Gadot. So embarrassing.
God. That was really bad taste. Bless her, nice idea, came from a nice place, but guys, you're all singing in your $500 million mansions about, these poor people. It's like,
little patronizing.
Yeah, a bit patronizing.
Can't tell a G from a C because they're tone deaf.
I mean, I'm sure somebody had Melodyne in there, like, let's just read these things around.
just 2 more cents and it's going to be there. Oh. So let's move on into production. What does production look like for y'all?
Normally what happens is I go into the studio and write a bunch of rough tracks for Verity. So I just put together some chords, some rough drums, whatever. And then I send it over to Verity and she does a vocal line. Then we
live in the same house, but he literally sends it to me by email because we don't work in the same time. He actually sends me a file and I go and sit somewhere away from him so he can't hear what I'm doing.
Hang on, I'm sending my wife a text real quick. Hang on, no, just.
And then this time, though, for this EP, it was a little bit different. We used GarageBand on the iPad. And, oh my God.
Someone at the door!
And we used, GarageBand has these really cool things where you can just load up the keyboard sound and then just play chords, just with buttons. And because Verity doesn't play any instruments, so we said, do this, just pick your favorite chords and play whatever you want and then just sing over it. And then she sent me those really rough. Sometimes it was just literally a piano, with just piano chords with a melody line over it. And then I just took those and I orchestrated them for a fancy word. But really, I just went, I'll make a guitar part to go at the top and make a bass part to go underneath it all. And that's
you just made it up.
Just made it up.
Just made it up.
Imagine that.
It's almost like you wrote it.
I know, right?
So that's how it worked this time. So it's a little bit different this time, but generally speaking, it's some sort of core chord structure with Verity's tune ideas, and then we go from there. This time also, Verity pretty much just did one verse, one chorus, and then a middle eight.
And then we played around with where we wanted to go.
And it was all pretty standard. We started, little in the first verse, massive on the end of the chorus.
Yeah. I think it's different to that whole sitting around everybody with guitars and like everyone kind of, what about this video, what about that idea? Mainly because I'm an absolutely awful instrumentalist. And I'll be like, I can play G and D, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so that's how we did it this time, basically.
Well, I think that I'm really seeing a little bit of the snobbery of production dissipating a little bit. But there's still snobs out there. But you've hit on a point with GarageBand. I compose for the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and
also it sounds like an amazing museum. I would totally have to go to that.
I don't think we can gloss over that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey, open invitation. I got a spare room.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, once they let us actually leave the house again.
I know. Yeah.
But some of the things, like if we have a big video or something and have a lot of time to work on it, then I'll go into my normal production mode, which I'm an Ableton user. But when we have these short things or like quick turnarounds, I go straight into GarageBand on the iPad because
it's so accessible.
Nothing is faster.
Directness of it.
And Al's interested. I don't know whether you mentioned it while I went to pick up my delivery of chips from the and that's British chips, by the way, for anyone listening, which are fries rather than chips, as in crisps.
We could actually go down this bonnet, boot. I mean, pants. That's a big one.
Al started using this new DAW called Luna from Universal Audio, which has kind of only recently come onto the market. And I have to say, it's really revolutionized, I think, what you've been doing. I think the stuff that Al's been doing has been really interesting using this new DAW.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, cool. It's just because it doesn't matter what you use. It's just about what inspires you.
Yeah.
And if that's GarageBand, then you should use that.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if it's Pro Tools, then you should use that. It doesn't matter. They all sound amazing.
Make it work for you.
Yeah. They all sound amazing.
You got to find it. You got to find the one that works with your personality.
Exactly.
Like, I'm scattered and I'm fast. Things come to me fast. So Ableton works for me because I can just do clip after clip after clip and then figure out something later. But then Pro Tools are for people that really like that studio feel in a digital audio workstation.
Oh yeah.
Cubase, FL Studios should still be called Fruity Loops. They just got cowardly on that one.
Fruity Loops, so good. It's a good name.
Yes. But who knows? It's probably not PC anymore to say fruity. So
probably not. Who knows?
You never know. So how does it work out? Once you guys you have your basic production down and stuff. How do you orchestrate it through the band? I mean, how does that work out? How do you bring it to the public?
Basically, we send them the tracks to have a listen to. First of all, we kind of say. Normally now, our drummer, apart from this EP, because obviously he can't come to record with us, normally our drummer will have written the drum parts for it now, so he kind of will have had an idea of what's going on. But we generally tend to sort of send it to them to have a listen to practice through a little bit at home. We'll turn up, if we're sending it to the bassist, we'll turn up the bass louder so he can hear it. And then we'll just all get together in the studio and go through it and sort of slowly, one by one, sort of get to the point where we don't necessarily always perform all of the tracks from all of the albums anyway. So what we'll do is put a set list together, which includes kind of some old favourites and then some newbies, so we can smash through the old favourites to get everyone feeling like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And then land into the scary new ones. And I was like, oh my God, I've got no idea what's going on, which can be fun.
Yeah. Well, okay, you're at that point now. This is something I think my listeners here in the United States would really find interesting because there's a process here to get into clubs, to get gigs, but what's the process in the United States, in the UK, to get gigs, to get out in front of people, to get into clubs, to get into the festival stages? I mean,
there's a lot of There's a lot of different ways of doing things. So there, unfortunately, is still a really bad pay-to-play culture in the UK. So there are, especially in London and some of the big cities, there are a lot of people that will try and take you for a ride and say, oh, well, you know, if you pay me, or if you come down and if you sell this amount of tickets, then we'll let you play this gig. And generally they are crap. You don't get an audience.
Yeah, the pay-to-play that we've seen is pretty much you buy your 50 tickets and then it's your responsibility to sell tickets.
Yeah. And I'm not seeing that working for anybody, to be honest. It feels like a money spinner. So the way we've done it is just kind of, as Alex said, I'm a bit of an online...
You're a monster.
I'm a monster. I am a monster.
So
I just get to know people online, and then suddenly it turns out that one of them might be a promoter, and they're like, oh, we're doing this thing. So for me, it's been quite a natural networking way of doing things. So it's just networking and getting to know lots and lots and lots of people, and then it turns out that one of those people might know someone that's putting something on and put you in touch. And we worked with a few kind of PR companies. We're now working with a great one called Rockstar PR. She's doing some great work for us, and they've got some contacts as well. They can expand that contact base for you. And we're signed to a really nice indie label called WDFD as well, so he's got some contacts too. So we've all got this kind of little ring of contacts, and then other bands that we know, and it all comes back to this really nice scene and everyone being very supportive. Oh, we're doing a gig in Glasgow. Do you want to support? Oh yeah, cool, okay. Or we're doing a home gig. Do you want to come and support us here? Yeah, okay. So it actually ends up being a lot of it through a lot of the bands that we know as well. So really, for me, it's all about like being sociable, being friendly, and getting to know people.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I have a bit of a feeling there's not a lot of point in doing a gig unless there's a point of doing it. So what I don't like doing is what I refer to as band nights, which is where there's just a venue somewhere and they put on 3 or 4 bands that night, and you're just one of those bands, and it's miles away from anywhere that knows who you are or what you're doing. You spend all that money going to that venue, and then you turn up and you play in front of 3 people that are disinterested.
And the other bands.
I don't see the point of it. It's great for meeting a couple of other bands, but it doesn't really get you out in front of... I mean, coming back to our earlier thing, it's like, it's better to play in front of 10 people that are loving what you're doing, and then want to buy some merch and have a chat at the end of the show.
And that's what we found a lot of the time, our own gigs that we've put on ourselves and the ones we've done with kind of our other rock mates that have got like good followings as well, they've been really successful because actually, from a band point of view, you're splitting the door with your other band mates that are on there. So whoever sells what, you get a bit of money that way. And whoever's there, because you know the type of music that the other band are playing, you know that they're potentially going to be interested in you as well. So you know you're going to make money from merch sales as well. And if we're putting on our own gigs, we know that we've got that in the bag as well.
So we've had really successful gigs by putting on our own tours. Actually
hiring out venues and just doing
hiring out venues and then just making sure we advertise a lot to get people on. I would say it's fairly easy to get gigs in the UK if you just want to do those band nights. Just phone around.
But they are effectively in a random pub in the middle of nowhere, and you're playing to like one pissed old guy in the corner with a dog and a couple of people that came here to support the band that are on after you. So it's getting gigs in the UK I think it's all about doing it yourself. It's about DIY.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this now brings us to the most important thing that you guys do. I hear this little bird flying around told me you've got new music coming out.
It's real exciting.
Yes, we do. So the new way of writing things, where Alex challenged me over a weekend to write an EP's worth of songs, because I was in a massive funk with the lockdown and I was feeling super depressed and like, oh, I can't do this, everything's awful kind of thing. I was like, I challenge you this weekend to write an EP's worth of songs. And I was like, I can't do it. But lo and behold, I did it. And we've now obviously orchestrated them and got it all up and together, and they've been produced, and they are now with, actually the person that phoned earlier, he was actually the guy from the CD duplication page just calling me probably to let me know that the first duplication is ready for me to check. So that's coming out. So the lead single from that, Alibi, is out on the 5th, and then the rest of it is out on the 12th. The 5th is the day before my dad's birthday, and the 12th is the day after my birthday. So it's like a birthday celebration. That's cool, man.
So what can we expect from this music, this EP that you were challenged to write?
Well, I think you'll find it is the best music you've ever heard in your lives. No.
No, go with that. Yeah, lead.
Let's go with that.
Be bold.
I think I'm really, really proud of them, actually. It's come out really well. I think the lead track, Alibi, that we're releasing is got a kind of... I actually was really influenced by a lot of 70s music for the track. You can't necessarily hear it in any other way than sort of like the lyrical structure of it, but it's
the feel.
It's the kind of the feel of it. It's got this kind of like, but it's kind of really modern as well. At the same time, it's got this weird dichotomy going on because it's guitars and synths and all of these different sounds. So I think all of these tracks are both guitar and synth. It's not just guitars. It's not just synths. It's that kind of like a melding of the two together to make something quite energetic and exciting, or moody and interesting, depending on which of the songs you're looking at. So we really like playing with the mixture of those two things together and making it kind of something quite cool.
Yeah.
As a band, as an act, one thing, I'm not going to edit out the part where you got a phone, where you got a call, and I'll tell you why. You've got a very, very distinct visual image that you project out. And when you went to your call, your avatar came on, and your pink avatar and that was very striking. Did you guys actually cultivate that look, or is that something that you just kind of fell into, the kind of visuals that you
That's Verity. That's just real Verity. That is just who she is.
I am very much what you see is what you get. Yeah. So all of the bouncing around and the bright colours and the weird photos and the craziness is what Alex lives with 24/7. Yeah. So
it's just
I have to sat in the garden sunbathing a bit today, so I don't know. Also, I had a nap. I know, right? I love a nap. Love a nap. Afternoon naps, man. They're the best.
People don't get the power of it.
Power of a nap. But yeah, that is just what I'm like. Yeah. So we didn't really cultivate. We had a really long chat actually this time last year. We were like, what is our brand? What is what we look like? What are we selling to people? And then Alex was like, well, basically, you're the brand. I was like, oh, shit.
It's totally true. It's something that I think it's important for everyone to consider because, again, I think it adds something to the show and the audience's enjoyment. So, again, I think it's important that you have something consistent going on. But luckily, I think Verity's just colourful and bright anyway. And so that pretty much works all the time.
I think that this isn't a point, but people should really think about this. The act's name is Verity White, and you are Verity White, but this is very much a Pat Benatar type situation. That Verity White is the band. It's this, it's a whole unit.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And we've been trying to get that across more, which is why we kind of played with whether we would add band to the end of the name on posters and stuff. So they didn't. Initially, I was having a lot of problems that people thought that I was going to be a folk singer. I guess because of my name, it kind of sounds like, ooh. So people were expecting me to be a folk singer, and then it was like, oh, you're not.
It's quite rocky,
yeah. But I think now that we've got more of a following, sort of people know who we are, and there are a lot of other bands in the UK that are doing that. So like Loz Campbell, Lynn Jackman, people like that. They are, Els Bailey as well. They're all kind of doing the same thing. They are a band, but it's basically under their name. So I kind of feel okay that I've got other girls doing it too.
Yeah. And I think Foo Fighters prove that your band name or whatever doesn't matter. Doesn't it? It's just...
This is true. Actually, cool. I don't know. It's probably happened, but there's probably a band out there just named Shit.
I suspect there is. Exactly. Probably more than one.
Well, when you have that as a band name, anything you do, you're punching above expectations.
That's it. Yeah, you're either meeting it or it's above. Yeah. So you can't lose. No.
Setting yourself up for a win right out the gate.
I love that.
We should have gone with that.
I should have gone with that. Oh.
Well, then somebody would just top you and go total shit. So, there's always somebody that can best you.
So, with someone cleverer, definitely.
Yeah. So you actually brought up merch and things. Of course, at shows, merch goes well. Do you find that outside of shows in the UK that do you get much online sales of CDs and things like that, or is it more at the venues?
Yeah, we've been fairly lucky, I think, with the online sales. I think, like we said, with this natural and organic way of growing your fan base, there's always someone new discovering what you're doing because someone will have told them about it or something will happen. So we're finding that even through lockdown, we're having orders coming in.
Everybody got a great view of that again.
So rude, isn't it? So we're finding that stuff's coming in because as people kind of grow and understand and hear about the band, they are seeing lots of new stuff and they're thinking, oh, actually, I quite like them. They'll listen to it on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. And then actually, if they really like it, they'll come and buy a CD or buy a T-shirt or whatever. And with the new release that we've had going out, we actually thought we'll do something in lockdown. It'll be a bit of a throwaway release and we'll just see how it goes. But it's turned out really well. And so we're like, few fans were like, can we buy a physical copy? We're like, oh, okay, well, we'll do like a handful of physical copies. And they sold out in 5 hours. And we were like, you what? What's going on? So it is so humbling. Yeah, it really was. Lovely. And I think it is there. The excitement is there for that. And the people, like you said, your true fans, your tribe, they want that. They want the merch. They want to continue supporting you, And so I think it is important to always think about what's next with your merch. Like, can you add a tee to that? Can you add a hat? Can you add, something weird like a bottle opener or something? And having those different things at different price points as well really makes a difference.
I know. That's what I love to do with my favourite band.
Yes.
They release,
Nine Inch Nails.
Like if they release a new T-shirt or something, I buy.
It's a great way to support.
I think between us, genuinely, I think we have actually about 10 Nine Inch Nails T-shirts upstairs between the two of us. It's completely insane.
Good choice, by the way.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
This is something that, again, I'm going to ask you to cross the ocean and educate the people that are listening to this show in my country. Because one thing over here is fame is looked at at a higher level than being an artist. But in the UK, and this is something that people here don't really get, I remember that, I think his name is Steve McFadden. He's on EastEnders. He plays Phil on EastEnders.
Yeah.
He got a full page write-up while I was there in a major newspaper, and he was doing pantomime in a neighborhood show. And the point I'm trying to get here to people over here is the UK really values the arts. It's like if you're doing a little play on a stage in a community, that's considered you're an actor. If you're doing, you're a musician.
I think what's really interesting is actually there is still a cult of celebrity in the UK as well.
Oh, of course, there's
specifically,
But
I think that generally in the UK we've got a really artistic culture. We've got a culture where if someone is talented at something, people want to support them. Yeah. Certainly there's lots of things for getting sort of talented children and everything into, not in a like pageants kind of way, but in a way which is much more natural and like trying to train them to be able to sort of land roles in the West End and stuff like that. So I think there's lots of ways that we do support that kind of thing, but there is still very much a cult of celebrity. I think it's a shame, and I think it actually ties really closely to what Alex was saying earlier about that pop star, manufactured pop star thing. That is where the cult of celebrity sits. Right. Outside of that circle, you've got so many incredibly talented people, and I would argue that the people outside of that circle are probably much more talented than the people that are actually inside of that circle.
Well, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think the issue a lot of the time is the people in pop acts are often supported by really incredibly talented heavyweight songwriters, producers, mix engineers.
Sitting behind the scenes.
And oftentimes, and understandably so based on the market, but they're chosen for maybe how they look or whether their voice is particularly popular as a type of voice. Yeah. But it's a weird one because actually some of the very, very, very most talented and best musicians and mix engineers on the planet write songs and mix them for pop stars. It's such a weird thing,
But actually, the recognition that they get
is very minimal.
Yeah, but I think that I do think that in the UK, certainly around the people that we know anyway, generally culture is really well celebrated, especially all of the arts. It's not just you like one thing or the other. I think if you're into the arts, then you like art and you like writing and you like cultural theatre, and music and everything as well. And I think a lot of us are very open to lots of different types of music as well. So it's not just I like rock and that's all I'm going to listen to. It's like I like rock and a bit of jazz. Oh, actually I quite like some electronic as well. Generally, most people I know are not genre basis. They are listening to loads of different stuff because actually they listen to it if they like it. Yeah. And they're enjoying something if they like it. And I think it's much more about, do I like this, rather than this is a celebrity I've been told to like this.
There's also a more humble nature to the people in your country, and I'll explain this. Over here, we're like Toby Keith. I mean, writes songs about putting his boot up other people's asses and stuff in the nation because we're just the best. We're the best. I'm going to put my boot up your ass. He's always play American, and he's up there with the Takamine guitar from Japan. But we won't get into that. But once on Jonathan Ross and once on another show, I saw Rod Stewart play both of those, right? Mm-hmm. And they introduced it as Rod Stewart. And that's all that they said, right? And on one of them, there's David Gilmour sitting down on a stool just playing guitar. Nobody ever mentioned David Gilmour was playing because this was Rod Stewart's show and Dave Gilmour was just a backing musician. And in the other one I saw, Ron Woods was behind him. Again, not Rod Stewart with Ron Wood on guitar. It was just Rod Stewart, and there's
no one needs to look at him, no.
That's insane.
That is incredibly humble. Over here, you'd have the introduction would be longer than the song because you'd have to go
down. To be higher up than so and so's name, and it's got to be in this size font, and it's got to be in lights.
Right. It's kind of like being an actor in England. Once you've ever had a job, there's always going to be a Love Actually that has every actor that's ever acted in England that's still alive in it.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Some of them not even billed.
I think a lot of it comes down to our very self-depreciating sense of humor in the UK.
I think we
constantly putting ourselves down.
Carry on. I mean, it's a worldwide call on a T-shirt now, but it's really a way of life, you know. So you guys have built yourselves to a certain level. And I always try to tell young people when they're getting into this, especially on the independent side, you define what your success is. So you set goals, you achieve those goals, and nobody can tell you what success is. Success isn't if somebody's mom's heard you on the radio or anything like that, or fame is not success necessarily. A lot of the famous people we know don't own anything you see in their videos or anything. It's all marketing. And if their next single doesn't sell, somebody else is moving in. But since you've built up to a certain level, is there any advice that you would have for those young people coming into it, or any things that you've seen as an independent artist, or anything? I'm just going to turn the floor over to you on this one.
I think, from my point of view, the whole reason that we've grown, and every reason that we've grown, is because of being open and humble and networking and being really friendly. And I think that genuinely, if you don't take yourself too seriously, and like Al said, if you do everything for your fans,
that's the key.
Then that's the key.
Don't think that you've got to go out on stage and be some kind of big show off. For yourself.
Oh my God, we had this, I can't even tell you, but we had this one support act that did that, and it was hilarious. And we always remember that for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, you're not, you understand where you are at that moment and behave responsibly, but continue to behave responsibly and be a nice person and turn up on time and all of that kind of stuff all the way through. It doesn't matter how big you get. The basis of being a humble, friendly and open human being is always there. And I think that genuinely for us, that's been so much about what's helped us grow. And I think that when it comes to defining success, I mean, what even is that? It seems to be such an intangible thing.
That's for an individual to decide for themselves.
That's kind of mad. I still feel like, oh my God, we've got to do so much more. My anxiety drives me constantly to I need something else. But actually, if I sit and take time and look back, I'm like, oh, actually, I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that. So I think taking those small moments as well to actually step outside of yourself and look at it from an external perspective and holistically go, do you know what? I've actually done all of these things, and that's quite good. So well done me. I'm going to have a gin and tonic, and then I'll get on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's that's so great that you brought that up, because we're getting out of, for so long there was a fake it before you make it attitude. Get up there and be what you want to be or what you want people to see, and that's so off-putting. And being nice to a club owner, to other bands, that is, I mean, they're going to remember that. But, it's like, okay, depending on your style of music, if Russell Simmons, Jay-Z, or Dave Grohl don't have you on speed dial, nobody gives a shit how big you think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a very small selection of people in the world that can genuinely get away with being an arsehole and still get for things. And we know who those people are because they're on TV.
But when you're at an indie band
level, they're about there's probably about 20 of those in the whole world, out of the 7.5 billion.
And like we said, the scene is small. People know each other. It's a community. People people from one venue will talk to someone else from another. But people from one label will know people at other labels. PR people will know other PR people. If you piss someone off, if you are too big for your boots and being a bit of a wanker, they're going to tell other people, and you won't get booked. So, I suppose we're quite lucky, like, we're actually fairly nice people. So that helps, But I think that don't pretend to be something that you're not. Just be you. Like, you are your USP.
And again, there's nothing wrong with creating a character. But you have to be thinking, is what I'm doing entertaining the audience?
Yeah, entertaining.
Because you know what? If you decide that you're going to record your songs and you're going to put them out there for people, let's stop pretending your music is only for you. If your music was just for you, you wouldn't put it out there. You just record it quietly and listen to it by yourself. So let's stop pretending that. You're doing it for other people as well as yourself. So let's acknowledge that and then start to think about how you can make that an amazing experience for those people. When I write music, I care about it so much. All I care about is how cool I can make that music. But in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking other people are going to hear this. So how can I present this so this is going to be something that people are going to enjoy, I think it's funny. Sometimes I think people feel like those two things are mutually exclusive. Like you can't be who you are whilst also making sure that other people are going to be able to enjoy that easily. You can do both. You're a human. You've got an amazing, magical brain.
This is where it's great that you have Verity in on this, because I often tell people this is a thing with being an independent. You make the music that feeds your soul, right? So it's probably not going to be for the masses. You're not going to have that machine pushing it to the masses, which a lot of people think they like music, and I don't think they actually like it. They just have heard it so much because it's been pushed out. It's familiar. But when you're an independent, making the music, then you have to go out and find the people that share your heart. And that's where you're very good at that. We met on Instagram, because you're always there. You're always there. So after a while, you check it out and you're like, wow, this is good. But you've never done it pretentiously or anything like that. Making a character, there's two ways to go about it. Are you being theatrical like David Bowie? Are you making the Thin White Duke? Or are you doing Ziggy Stardust or Aladdin Sane? Are you going up there like Mariah Carey did a couple of New Year's Eves ago, where they got up there and her in-ear monitor was dead, and instead of keeping the crowd entertained until they fixed it, she threw everybody under the bus and acted like a prima donna and looked like an asshole at the end.
That was really...
I mean, zero knowledge of how to work a crowd there. That's a person that you can tell has never played an intimate gig or had to reach to somebody. People were there to hear her hits. That's all she felt she needed to give. And when things didn't go right, she just boom. A little banter.
A little banter. I know some jokes.
Pull a Janet Jackson if it gets too bad. Where's Justin Timberlake when I need him?
I know.
In that way, though, it's so freeing to be an independent musician, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think like you said, we're kind of masters of our own fate in a way, and I think that's terrifying and empowering at the same time.
Well, it's all on you. But is there any other way? I'm accountable.
Yeah, exactly. But and I think something that's really important about accountability as well is learning to say, do you know what, I fucked up? And claiming that. If you make a mistake, claim it and understand it. Don't try and hide it. Just, do you know what, I did something wrong and my bad. That is a really empowering and strong thing to do.
Exactly. So we've been talking about your online presence and your controlled manic personality online, which is amazing. So where can people find you? I'm going to have links. I'm going to have links in the show notes and all this, but let people know where you're at online and what you do and maybe some of your strategies. Let them in on what makes you, you.
Okay. Well, my strategy is very much what is in my brain that day. And some days I am totally lost. I'm not feeling really great, but I still feel like I want to at least put something out. So I do have like a couple of like images that I've had taken in kind of like in other places and other days that I can then share in days where I feel not so good. But generally it's very much, this is happening right now, here's my cat. And it's very much like in the now, a lot of the stuff that I do. From a point of view of finding us, it's veritywhite.com is our website. On Instagram, I am original_Verity. On Twitter, I am Veebear, Veebear. And on Facebook, we are at Verity White Band. So we are on all of the places. And generally, what I would say to anybody that's thinking of following us, say hi, come and talk, get involved. Because, you know, we do these online sessions, like we have online gigs and stuff with people, like, and it's formed this really awesome community where people are starting to get to know each other and chatting. And we want to know about you guys. We want to know what you want and what you want to hear and what you're enjoying and what you're not enjoying and what you're watching on telly and what you're eating for dinner and all of that kind of stuff. And what your favorite cheese is. God damn, cheese is so important.
We need to know.
We need to know.
I don't think fans, for years we were, especially if you listen to mainstream music, you're conditioned that they're the star, you're the fan, you consume. But when you're an independent, nothing feels better than getting that one guy in Yugoslavia that streamed you on Spotify.
I know.
It's like, there's a guy in Yugoslavia just streamed my crap on Spotify.
You can genuinely see live who is streaming your music on Spotify. That's insane. I'm like, Alex, oh my God, it's so cool.
And then they contact you, and that just takes it to a whole new level because now you have a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's not creepy.
Oh,
no.
Oh God, yeah.
No creepy.
Everyone matters.
Yeah.
Everyone is important.
Yeah.
And
We do get some beautiful messages from people. And I tell you what,
we see everyone.
On days when I'm feeling really dark, and I share it as well on social media, if I'm having a day where like the black dog of depression is looming over me, or I'm feeling really anxious or something like that, really open about it. I like to encourage my fans to talk about it as well, because I think it's very, very important that people embrace mental health. But you know, I want people to talk to us about it. I want them to tell us what they're thinking. If they're listening to a song and they're enjoying it, or it's helping through something, that for me keeps me going. If I'm having a really dark day and I get a message from someone saying, oh my God, I just heard this song and it made me feel this, that, and the other, that for me puts me in the most happy place. Because what is it if you're creating art for if it's not for making other people feel good?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I have a saying that there's no such thing as bad music, or you could say bad art. There's only stuff you don't like, but Piss Christ still exists.
Although there is the Crazy Frog. So.
Yeah, and Piss Christ.
Love it.
You know, I mean, you know, I understand. I say there's no such thing as bad art, but dude, you put a crucifix in a jar and peed in it.
That is kind of a no.
You're struggling now.
Yeah, even if it's not bad, it's lazy. It's lazy. You could at least put some food coloring in it or something, made it rain like this crap, you know? What you gonna do though? Guys, man, we've been going now, man. We're cruising toward an hour, and this has been an amazing conversation. So let's just put this out there. Is there anything that you would like to touch on that we haven't touched on yet?
I mean, maybe just cats.
No, you say that, but this is true. Okay, you talked about you go and you'll play that gig. You'll play that gig where everybody's into you, but then you'll go play that next gig and there's like 3 people there. They couldn't give a shit about you. Then you leave and there's no party. There's no fanfare. You just stop off for kebabs and chips on the way home, and you get home. Exactly. At least the cat is happy to see you, or the dog is happy to see you, right?
Do you know what? Genuinely, I said to Alex the other day, I was like, I'm really missing my random junk food at 2 a.m. on the way back from a gig. I can just get in the car at 2 a.m. and
just go and drive from McDonald's somewhere just to feel more comfortable. Like.
I'm missing it, man. I'm missing it. But yeah, the cat's always happy to see us, so that's good.
Support animal.
Yeah, emotional too. And I have 2 because my emotions are so intense.
Well, guys, I, for one, completely appreciate you coming on, spending time here. I think we got some gems out of this one. Some really good ideas, some really good banter. Hopefully, we've educated navel-gazing United States citizens here that there is something outside of the borders here. No, I take that back. We haven't educated anybody. They're still MAGA. Yeah. But
really
it's just so lovely to talk to you. It was so good. Thank you.
Hugely. Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Well, guys, I'm going to let you go back to your life, enjoy your evening, and put away some more G&Ts.
Thank you. You are marvelous. We'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.